I've been in the construction industry for about 7 years. And I realize that's not a very long time. I've worked with people on a daily basis who've been here for 30 or 40 years. But I do know that they all have the same issues that I do. They come into work at an ungodly early time in the morning with a piece of gas station pizza in one hand and an energy drink in the other hand. And they go about their business throughout the workday, always checking the watch, wondering why the heck is it not 5 o'clock yet? It feels like I've been here for hours. Why am I still here? When is this workday ever going to end? And I know that that malady is not unique to construction. Any adult who has a job goes through that at least at some point, if not all the time. Wondering, why is this workday not ending? I am so sad. I am so depressed. I need a hug. Good Lord, this is taking forever, and I'm mentally and physically exhausted. I know everybody goes through that at some point. And so I've made a couple videos in construction before, why construction site culture sucks, benefits of working in construction. Today, I'd like to offer a broad advice on not just working in construction, but working in general, and the things that I have evolved through over time, the mental states that I've been able to put myself in, because you could put yourself in a mental state, in a state of mind where you can succeed despite how bad things may feel. You can make your brain do basically anything. It's crazy. If you've ever looked at like Psychology Today or just in general study the topic of controlling your own mind, there's some crazy things you can do. Like if you cross your arms, your brain registers that after a couple seconds as you being hugged, which sounds really weird, kind of creepy, like you got a ghost wrapping you up in its arms. It's really weird stuff, but you can actually put yourself in a state of mind where you can get through an entire 10 to 12 hour work shift and feel just fine afterwards, and not have to immediately fall asleep in the first bed you see, whether or not it's your own. So I'm going to try and give you 3 of the mental states that I have gone through as a construction worker to try to cope with the fact that I'm still here and that I am not still an 8-year-old boy living at home with mommy and daddy. The first mental state that I would suggest trying out is taking pride in your work. That sounds like a corporate line that anybody that's in an office is going to tell you, you need to take more pride in your work, buddy. I mean, it's not everybody that gets to screw a self-tapping screw into a sheet of metal. I mean, come on now. You got to do better. You got to always try to be more. Well, they don't pay you anymore for actually putting in additional effort. I realize that this is a corporate line, so I'm not going to tell you to do this for their sake, for their benefit, so that they can continue to make money off of you without you making any extra money. I'm going to tell you to do this for your own sake. And it sounds ridiculous, but pride is the reason. Pride, specifically not just because you're working, but pride is like a good whiskey. It's poison, but it's a delicious poison. Whenever I go out into a job site, for the first time, and it's already been kind of progressing, and there's already been some electricians who've out here, doing whatever it is that they've been doing to start prepping the building, whether it's pulling conduit, pulling wire, running conduit, maybe set the switch gear. I'll go out there, and I'll give it a good look, and I'll put my hands on my hips, and I'll think to myself, dang, these guys suck. Look at that conduit over there. I could have run that a lot straighter than that. Man, look at all these wires in this panel, how they're just kind of snaking in from all different angles. None of the neutrals are labeled. I mean, I could have done a lot better than this. Obviously, I'm not saying this out loud because I'm not trying to run people down. And it sounds fucking conceited. It sounds ridiculous to say this kind of stuff. But it's because I started out as an antagonistic asshole to all my coworkers, but also because you can get into a competitive, I am better than you mindset and really just run with that and not be an antagonistic asshole, not express that to your coworkers, but put yourself in the state of mind where I am the best at what I do. I'm so damn good at what I do for a living. And then go and do it. And then go do your task and do it with a perfectionist taste. Put in whatever it is that you're putting in, install whatever it is that you're installing, and do the absolute best you can, so that whenever you get to the end of it, and all throughout the process of doing it, you realize that you are doing a fantastic job. And that nobody else could have done it as well as you could have. I mean, if they put somebody else on this, they wouldn't have taken the time that was necessary and put in the amount of effort that was necessary to make this work. You're just better than them. And that mindset, while it is dangerous for an immature person, in the hands of somebody who has the social skills of a small turnip and the mental competency of basically any mature adult, it could be motivating to continue to try to push yourself and to do better and to beat your high score, so to speak. If you view it as a competition. And not in a way that you're sabotaging people, but in a way that you're trying to outperform everybody else. Not so that the boss will like it and so that he'll give you a big old pat on the back and a raise, because you know damn well that's not going to happen. But just to be able to psych yourself up and feel better about yourself and to get invested in what you're doing and obsess over what you're doing. That is a difficult mindset to get into for a lot of people. For me, it was the first thing I went to because I play a lot of video games and I'm very competitive in those video games, and I'm always trying to be the best tank in World of Warcraft, or trying to have a no-hit run playing Dark Souls, stuff like that. It was easy for me to get into, and you might try it. Maybe you'll be able to get into it and just get lost in your work and get to the end of a 12-hour work day and be like, what the heck? How is it already time to leave? I was just getting started. My gosh, time flies when you're having a ball. It is possible. Second mindset that I have been trying out is getting invested in my coworkers. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't want to do because you're going to work, not to fraternize. And it's true. You don't need to over-invest yourself in your coworkers to the point that you're being intrusive. But there is a level of sociableness. So what is being a sociable person that is not just safe, but is healthy. And this is something that took me a long time to get as well, because whenever I first started out, I was an obnoxious, antagonistic asshole. That was just my characterization. That was the person that I was. And I was loud. I was burping and singing and throwing things. And I was very gregarious, very brash, very, everybody look at me. That was my character. And it didn't cause any problems. Didn't wind up with me like being shunned socially. It was, people kind of accepted me as, okay, this guy's the crazy guy. This is the asshole. This is the class clown. He's cool. You just kind of got to look past the rough veneer. And over time, I realized kind of sucks whenever you're isolating yourself like that. And so I actually started reaching out and like talking to people besides just talking about the work. Because before that, everybody was just a 1 or a 0. You either work or you don't. You're either working with me or you're working somewhere else and I don't have to talk to you. And getting past that was difficult because it was awkward and stilted at first. But as I developed as an adult and actually learning how to have social skills with construction workers whom I would rather never have to look at than work with, it was a little bit easier over time to just walk up to somebody and say, "You doing all right today, man?" without feeling like I'm a robot. And then, you can progress from there where you keep working with this guy and this group of guys, and you're able to, for the most part, create a circle of acquaintances, at least, if you dare not say friends, and kind of get used to the people that you're working with and be able to develop a rapport that makes it more comfortable to work, where it's not quite as tense of an environment where you're concerned that the guy standing behind you is about to throw a flathead through your back. It's something that is only beneficial for the most part, as long as you're not, getting so intrusive into their lives and, telling them how to live their lives. And, well, you found out where he lives, so you sneak over there in the middle of the night and peek in his window. Oh, he's sleeping. Oh, isn't he just adorable? You get the point. There's a boundary there, but I'm not telling you get anywhere near it. I'm telling you those people are people, and they're just like you. Even though sometimes they may seem like animals, just be nice. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be an asshole. Sure, sing, burp, throw water bottles at walls and stuff. Whatever you got to do. Whatever you feel like is going to be comedic. But invest in yourself, not just in your work, but also in just being a good person and being better than the average construction worker socially is something else to take pride in and something else to think about rather than what time is it. And the third state of mind that I would advise is being more than just a construction worker. It is very easy, at least it was for me, to get into a grind and a rhythm and a plateau where I go to work, I do my job, and I go home and I collapse in my bed and I just sleep the night away, and well, now it's time to go back to work again. And then whenever the weekend rolls around, I'll do my laundry, cook for the week ahead, maybe call my mother, call my father, talk to them for an hour, and, go back to bed and wait for Monday. I was like that for years, where I never did anything outside of work. It was completely, I was a shell of a person outside of the job site. It's like the only thing that I really had going for me was my job, and if I had quit from my job, I would have nothing to do. I would amount to nothing. There would be nothing going on in my life because all I had was work, and all I ever thought about was work, and all I ever did. Whenever I'm at home, sure, I might, get on, play some video games or something to that effect, but I never went anywhere. I never spoke to anybody. I never did anything because whenever you over focus on work, whenever you are valuing yourself strictly on how well your workday went and how much you got done, you can very quickly and easily lose yourself and just strictly become defined by the job that you do and the work that you produce. And I don't feel like I'm the only one with that issue, because I know several people who've complained about the same thing. Like they complain about only ever having this to do, and basically the weekend amounts to waiting for Monday to come back. And it's a sad situation, and it may sound ridiculous for somebody who doesn't have that issue, who actually has things to do outside of work and people to talk to, and it sounds foreign, it sounds alien, it sounds ridiculous. But it's the reality for a lot of people, not just working in construction, but in any job that demands a lot of your time and a lot of your mental focus. It can reduce you to nothing outside of the job. And I know that is very true even now for me, where I am currently trying to put this third mental state into practice, where I'm trying to branch out, or as Buster Keaton very wisely put it, having broadening experiences, where I'm trying to use my free time more wisely. I know that people always say with such venom, get a hobby. It's like the phrase get a hobby has become a weapon to put somebody down. And if you can listen to the phrase get a hobby as an actual piece of advice and not as somebody trying to exalt themselves above you, it's actually really good advice. Get invested in something that isn't work. Take everything in moderation is a very wise thing to say, very wise statement. Taking work in moderation is important too. Having something that you can go home and do besides just collapse into bed or fall asleep in the shower or across the top of the washing machine, as I did a couple times, it definitely boosts your morale at the very least, knowing that you've got something to go home to. Even if you have no wife or kids, like me, you can go home and weave a basket. I don't know, clean your house, clean your truck out. For goodness sake, you're a construction worker. I know your truck looks ridiculous. Got all kind of trash and stuff piled up in the back seat. I don't have that issue because this is a brand new truck. But if I let it get away from me, and if I do not focus on doing something whenever I get home, well, it'll wind up in the same trashy state that the previous truck was. It's something that you need to work on daily and come up with a plan for your day before you leave for work, so that you know what you have available to you and what options you have whenever you leave the job site. And as bad as I know you don't want to go anywhere after work, and it feels like a drudgery because you just don't want to go anywhere. I just want to go home. I want to see the inside of my eyelids. I want to go and lay down and wait for the next day. Try and do something after work. Try and go somewhere. Force yourself. Go to Walmart. Go to a restaurant somewhere. Go do something. Eventually, you will break yourself out of the shell that you've put around yourself, and you'll get to the point where it feels natural and it doesn't feel like it is you violating your own human nature to go do something outside the job site. I'm kind of talking to myself here. I'm almost trying to psych myself up here because, at least in my experience, it is so hard to get to the end of a work day without feeling like I've been hit by a train. I'm so tired because I've been walking the entire length of this 1.5 million square foot warehouse that we're building and carrying material, carrying my tool bag, pushing a cart around with my tools and material on it, is a luxury. It's so easy to just get exhausted and to overdo it every day, day after day. You got to take things in moderation, including work. And the quicker that you start to realize that you are letting yourself slip into this mental state of my work is the only thing I've got going for me. And if I lose this job, I've got nothing else to spend my time doing. The quicker you'll break out of that mindset. It took me a very long time to realize that I hadn't washed my bed sheets in 3 weeks, or that this toilet could have probably used a cleaning a month ago, or that I haven't heard my parents' voice in days. I haven't seen them in months. I've got nothing that I'm doing. I'm just a sad little mistake. Once you get to the point where you can recognize the issue that you're having, whether it is feeling like you don't amount to anything outside of work, or that you're isolating yourself unnecessarily from coworkers who could probably be pretty cool people if you talk to them and actually get to know them and fraternize with them a little bit more, or that you're just slacking off and just kind of going through the motions and not really giving a crap about the things that you're supposed to be doing, things that you're doing for money. Make sure that you don't forget that this is a money-making expenditure that you're doing to begin with. And you can't go without the money. You got to have it. And because it's necessary and because you're kind of stuck doing it, you've got to get yourself into a groove where you can make the money, do the job, without wishing that you were already 65 years old and can retire. Because once you get to that point, if you finally get to 65 and that's how you lived your life and that's how you did your career, you are going to have every regret in the book. So please try to be happy. It's not going to be easy unless you make it easier.